they just didn't show up for work. We need to demand of these platforms to really step up and address some of these demands. There is the announcement of the India Semiconductor Mission 2.0. Assets worth almost 700 crores, and now they are filing a prosecution complaint. I mean, come on. This is the only weekly tech news roundup you need to stay informed about tech in India. Welcome to this episode. Now, why should you stay informed about tech in India? Because a very important part of the Indian economy today, the gig workers, which were striking, are now going to protest. This is still the biggest story of Tech India in 2026, and we all need to stay on top of it because it affects thousands and thousands, maybe lakhs of livelihoods. As a follow-on to the gig worker strike that took place on 25th and 31st December, the gig workers went on an online strike on the 26th of January on Republic Day. Basically, they just didn't show up for work. They kept their platforms switched off, and this obviously meant a lot of gig workers. Well, fewer gig workers were available on every platform to gig, to bring your groceries or food or offer your services. And this extended beyond Swiggy, Zomato, Instamart, beyond any food and delivery grocery. Even workers on platforms like Urban Company, the big service provider, stayed offline. Ola and Uber stayed offline. So it's now bigger than just food and grocery delivery. And the Gig and Platform Service Workers Union, GIPSWU, has called for the nationwide protest on the 3rd of February in major cities. And the demands that they have laid out are pretty straightforward. Starting with legal recognition, that is a comprehensive gig law, certain income security measures like a guaranteed minimum wage, full transparency from the platforms about how the share of revenue of gig workers is calculated. This is something that platforms can fix right away. They just need to be more transparent about how they calculate driver fares or rider fares or whatever it is. Health insurance, pension benefits and accident coverage, workplace protections, a ban on arbitrary ID blocking. And this is actually sad, like a woman who was a gig worker on Urban Company spoke on condition of anonymity. She was accused of theft, which she denies. And the platform, Urban Company, instead of investigating or listening to her side of a story, they just blocked her ID for 3 weeks, which means she couldn't work, basically. And she's a service provider. She's a beautician. It's not like she can go to any other platform. It's not like she can go to most other platforms. They're also complaining about unfair rating systems, and the union demands a permanent 10 to 10-minute delivery promises, which the government a couple of weeks back instructed Blinkit to stop, and Blinkit removed it from their branding. But when you buy a MacBook, let's say on Blinkit, if you're crazy enough to do that, when you check out, there is still a 15-minute delivery promise. The union is also demanding certain women-specific rights, such as menstrual leave and emergency safety features like a red button. This has been going on for some time now. Now, I've been thinking, is this an India-specific problem? Is this gig worker rights, is it a solved problem in countries like the US and Australia? Well, it's not a fully solved problem, but admittedly, it is better in those countries because the labor codes are very strict and it is far easier to implement them. In India, in the second half of 2025, the government announced revised labor codes which included provisions for gig workers, but this has not been successfully implemented yet. So, on an immediate basis, it is really up to the platforms to step up and address some of these demands, which they can easily do. The perception across these platforms, why they are being so arrogant, is that lakhs and lakhs of gig workers are available. And what are you going to do? If you're not willing to make a ride, a grocery delivery for 20 rupees, someone else is going to do it. That is the thinking right now. So more power to the union, more power to those who are striking and protesting, and more power to you and me for supporting them. We need to continue to do that. We need to demand of these platforms to really step up and address some of these demands which are fair and which they can do right away. I mean, come on. And at the very least, they can be very transparent about how they calculate gig workers' share in revenue. Come on. Here's what else happened this week in Tech India. By the way, for those who have messaged me asking why this episode is a day late, first of all, Thank you for noticing. Thank you for your support. I love each of and every one of you. But it is a day late. This episode is a day late on purpose. Normally it goes live on Sunday. Today is Monday, the day it is being published. I was waiting for the union budget to be presented in Parliament, which was done on the 1st of February, that is Sunday, because I wanted to bring to you the tech-related highlights. And there is not much tech-specific provisions in the budget. There is the announcement of the India Semiconductor Mission 2.0, which is going to be a big deal again. There is announcement of tax holidays for cloud and data service providers for 20 years up to FY 2047. Couple of other small things. But a very interesting announcement is that support to the India Institute of Creative Sciences, Mumbai, to set up content creator labs in the field of AVGC, that is animation, visual effects, graphics, gaming, that is animation, visual effects, gaming and comics, in 15,000 schools and 500 colleges. So basically, they want this institute to sort of set up these content creator labs to harness the content creator in the youth of India. I love it. Let's see how far it goes. The most sensationalized news from last week by far is the free trade agreement that was signed between India and the European Union, which the European lady called the mother of all deals. What does it have for tech? Very little, to be honest. Overall, it's supposed to reduce tariffs and increase the freer movement of goods and services between India and the EU. They do talk about CAPAs, they do talk about IP protection and source code protection. They do talk about ease of access to service providers from India. And of course, this includes IT services. And it is supposed to make it easier for us to get jobs in the EU. I do wish, on a personal note, this agreement made it easier for us to get Schengen visas. I've been to the EU 3 times in the past for travel, and one of the things I hate the most in this world is the process to obtain a Schengen visa, because that is the only time I am made to feel ashamed to have an Indian passport, to be very honest. And some embassies, they just believe that if you are Indian, you want to migrate there illegally and overstay your visa. No. William, I do not want to migrate to Germany illegally. I don't need to. Anyway, this India-EU free trade agreement is undergoing legal vetting and it's going to be formally signed later this year, hopefully. Now, speaking of deals, the Canadian guy, Mark Kearney, is expected to travel to India in the first week of March and is likely to sign agreements related to AI, among other things. Moving east to Japan, where I think it's easier for us to get visas to travel. Well, UPI is going to work in Japan. So now it's going to be easier to travel there and easier to make payments in Japan. Well, UPI is going to work in Japan starting 1st April. I hope it's not an April Fool's joke. This is after a deal was reached between the NPCI, the National Payments Corporation of India, and Japan's NTT Data to have UPI work in Japan by scanning QR codes. Nice. Back to home soil, entirely home soil. The Enforcement Directorate has filed a prosecution complaint against Winzo under the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2002. This has been going on for a few weeks now. The ED raided Winzo's premises. They seized assets worth almost 700 crores and now they are filing a prosecution complaint against Winzo and its directors. Winzo, if you remember, was kind of still is an online gaming platform. It was affected by the real money game ban. I gave Winzo credit because they did not lay off people. They just tried to hard pivot into other more legal avenues. I don't know, sports streaming or whatever it is. I don't know what they can do right now. But this has been going on in the background for some time. Blinkit, I would say this is a bit of news that has nothing to do with the gig worker strike, but that's not true. I mean, if you order this product that they've announced, a gig worker has to bring it to you. And what if they are on strike? What if they're protesting? Well, Blinkit launched something called the Bharat Yatra card. It's a card which is powered by RuPay in partnership with Pine Labs. It's a national common mobility card, which means that you can use this card for metros and trains in multiple Indian cities all over India. As a concept, I think this is great because, like, if I'm going from Bombay to Delhi, for example, and I wouldn't like to stand in the queue of every metro station in Delhi. Anyone who's been to Delhi will tell you to use the metro rather than get stuck in traffic for 4 hours at a time. What is not clear is the fee structure of this. That is, to use the Bharat Yatra card, how much is Blinkit or RuPay or Pine Labs keeping behind? Well, to be honest, even if it's a slightly higher fee, I would pay the convenience fee to use this kind of card. Swiggy announced, another gig worker platform, Swiggy announced that users can now order on Swiggy and Instamart directly through the ChatGPT, Claude or Gemini interface, which means that you can prompt to have biryani or chai or whatever it is delivered to you. This is possible through something called a model context protocol. I've got a short video about it coming up later in the week, so do stay subscribed to my channel, please. BSNL had an offer. It introduced a 1 rupee plan. BSNL, which is the nation's third, maybe fourth favorite telecom provider, announced that people would be able to get a free SIM with 2 GB data a day, unlimited calls, 100 SMS per day, 30 days validity, all for 1 rupees. Well, that was announced on 29 January and it is over on 31st of January. So, Airtel customers in India now get Adobe Express Premium free with their Airtel subscriptions. Well, free with their Airtel services. Airtel is saying it applies to 10 postpaid customers, but you do need to download the Airtel mobile app. And this Adobe Express Premium is only for mobile. You can't use the desktop Adobe apps that come with it. What it is it's a subscription to unlock Adobe's Creative Cloud suites, the classics like Photoshop, Illustrator and whatnot, which to be honest, I have not used in years. I used to be a content creator, for a long time, and I started off with Photoshop and Illustrator back when it was, don't ask me when I started, but I did pay for Creative Cloud licenses for a couple of years, and then I just stopped because I found free alternatives to every one of these tools. If you want to know my recommendations for creators for the kind of image and video editing tools, leave a comment. I'll DM you. And this is not clickbait. It's genuine. I'm not going to try and sell you anything over here. I will just DM you what I use to create my content for free. Global tech giant Apple announced that they are going to open their second physical retail store in Bombay, which will be its 6th store overall in India. But what is more interesting is that there's reporting that Apple is leasing 20,000 square feet of office space in Chennai to set up a corporate office. I wonder what the immediate purpose of the corporate office in Chennai will be. Is it going to be a regional hub? Is it going to allow Apple executives to be closer to manufacturing in India? Whatever it is, for Apple, the company, this is an important step. For customers, the Apple Store is an important step because the Apple Store it's basically it's a case study for marketing for like MBA marketing students. This Apple Store, if you haven't visited one, do go and visit if you get the chance. And even if you're not going to buy anything, it's supposed to be an experience. Now, I've been to Apple stores in the US even before they open in India, and I do say that the desire to spend money in a physical Apple store is a lot more than, say, if you want to order something online or whatever it is. It's just the experience. I'm not going to go through all of it, but if you want me to make a separate video about it, let me know in the comments and drop a like. Otherwise, I won't like you. Just kidding. Amazon lays off 16,000 people globally, and that includes 500 to 700 employees in India. This is already announced. It's happening. It's very sad. It is unclear what the employees affected in India will get. In the US, they are saying they provide transition support or whatever it is. It is unclear what the employees in India will get, and it is also unclear what the exact number is going to be. Official estimates are 500 to 700 employees. Unofficial estimates say that it's more than 1,000 employees that are affected. So if you know somebody working for Amazon, check in on them, especially if they are in the HR or tech teams, which are the most affected here. And finally, the state of Andhra Pradesh has tied up with NVIDIA to make India's first dedicated AI university. It's not going to be an AI generated university, although that would be cool, but it is an AI, it's an AI university. It's a university for AI related courses. And that university is going to be operational on the 19th of February, which is a pretty short time to get a university up and running. Maybe all the courses are AI generated. Because if not, that would be ironic, no? That's it for now. If you want a more detailed roundup of the most important tech news from India this week, Check out the post on my website. Check out the latest episode on my podcast, which is on Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I will link them in the video description. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so, and do share this video so that other people can stay informed about tech in India just like you are. I'll see you next week. Bye.